Shall we go ahead and get started? Welcome, everyone.
Good Lord.
No,
Want banana?
no. Do you want?
Anybody want freeze-dried banana?
No, thank you.
You have no idea what you're missing. How about freeze-dried Skittles?
No.
That's tempting.
Sure.
I've never even heard of that.
Brian.
Oh, let's go. Is this what you were making the other night?
Yeah, this is what I've been making.
I'll try one.
By the way, what is Teach Town note taker?
That is good.
We don't know. Their
Dave.
special ed is presenting.
Sure.
Yeah, that's okay,
Something
thank
for
you.
Teach Town and we
Oh.
don't know.
Which I appreciate.
We tried to ask them.
Yeah,
but-
we're not sure what, no, but thank you.
So we don't know what that is.
Okay. Is that a person?
We don't know.
No.
Oh,
We said
didn't
something
answer.
to them, but they didn't reply back.
You gotta try it. Yeah. It's freaking great, isn't it? It's weird. Yeah.
So would you like us to start? We are first on the agenda.
yes.
Okay.
I don't see the agenda on here.
Would you like me to share it?
Go ahead and. Yeah, please.
No problem.
Thanks, tech guy.
You got it. There's our agenda.
There, curricular, co-curricular. Click on that. Just
Okay,
hit-
finally, I
So
got
it
it.
looks like we're
There you
at
go.
1B,
Yes.
curricular.
Yes. Teach Town Special Ed Curricular.
So I'm Dr. Barnhart. I'm the special ed director here at the district, and I'm here with Jamie Gensel, our department lead, to just talk to you briefly tonight about a curriculum program that we would like to purchase for our low incidence populations, which is our autistic support and our life skills support. And just a little bit of background, when I came into the district, we were still under COVID and the pandemic. And at that time, the state had purchased licenses for unique learning system, and that's what we were utilizing for our curriculum. We've recognized that there is a lot of holes, so to speak, and we've had to do a lot of supplementing from our teachers. So we were looking at a more of a whole comprehensive program, which is really what Teach Town can bring us. And Jamie is going to talk to you a little bit about what Teach Town has to offer.
Right.
Hi, I'm the department leader for special education. I'm also a teacher for learning support at Renovo. So I have a unique perspective on this. So currently, like Dr. Barnhart said, we're using unique learning systems. And what that really does is it modifies the current core curriculum. So all students should have access to a core curriculum or the core standards. And then some of the students in low incidence also need adapted curriculum. So that's really what Teach Town will offer us. And it can go on a vast multitude of levels. So for students kind of learning to read or students that may be already kind of readers. Also, it's cross-curricular. So it includes math skills, science skills, social studies, and then also things that some of the low incidence population needs, such as transitional skills, and then also social skills. So that's one of the things we liked about it. Now, our current program doesn't have that all-in-one kind of approach. So that's what we had liked about it to start. It includes hands-on activities and manipulatives, and also classroom libraries, which is something we also are needing in those classrooms as well.
I think we can send around, we have an updated quote, so we are
Would you like me
able
share
to,
that?
we are able to not spend as much money as we originally thought. I don't know if we have it in a PDF. Do we have it?
Yeah, I do have it in a PDF. I met with the vendor this morning to kind of finalize numbers as far as exactly how many kits we would need to purchase as far as the manipulatives. So the price that you'll see really includes the hands-on manipulatives, and then the classroom kits, and then the software licenses for the students. The price you're going to see is the first year quote, and then an additional quote for just the software renewal for year 2 and year 3. That's kind of the price breakdown.
And then-
Jamie, is this price different than what's on the agenda?
Yeah, so the vendor gave us an option for a 1, a 3, and then a 5-year pricing guide. And being that, again, we're kind of investing in this. So we had thought that for the first year, so there is price advantages to doing the 1, 3, or 5 year, but as far as commitment, we feel comfortable looking at the pricing for the 1 versus the 3. The 1 you can see here. So the quote is itemized in the dark kind of bold at the bottom there. And that would be the year 1 investment. So that's $80,498.75. And include that. And again, that includes the manipulatives, all of the hands-on things that the teachers would need to teach the curricular program, and then also the classroom libraries and the software license. But that's kind of a one-time expense once they have the manipulatives and then also the libraries. Then it's just the second year and the third year is the $18,825.96. And that's just the software renewal
Question for you.
cost. Yes.
How many years are you planning on utilizing this
So this
curriculum?
they have the 1-year option, the 3-year term option, and then the 5-year term option. And we've discussed all 3 options with the vendor. There is a price reduction at the 5-year. If you would commit to the 5-year, it's a 10% reduction. The benefit of going with the 3-year, there's no price cut except that you get locked in to not a price raise, basically. So if they would raise their prices next year, you would be held into that first year price. It really looks comprehensive. It's more so it'll meet more needs than any curriculum that we've had to meet a vast range of needs in that one classroom. Again, you kind of have in a life skills classroom, you might have kids kind of working on more functional skills, and then you have kids that are kind of ready to read, and finding a program that can really meet all those needs and adapt the learning to that child's needs is kind of difficult to find. And so far what we've Dr. Barnhart and I've seen, we really like, because it does seem to meet all of those needs and be cross-curricular and take into the fact that those students also need social skills and transitional skills.
Okay, so the second and third year, that's basically to resupply your consumables and all that
Correct.
other
Yes, sir.
stuff.
Yes.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And another key component is the training. So there's training webinars, but there's also on-site coaching. So we will have folks come.
On-site coaching?
They will come to the district from Teach Town and work directly with our teachers in the classroom.
Do they know what they're getting into?
Yeah.
Okay.
they-
So is
That's part of the
When they
package,
say
right?
quantity too, that means 2 trainers or 2 sessions?
That's the number of, so those are the, those package kits. That's the number of kits that we would need to supply the current
Right,
classrooms.
right here, though, the
The
coach and
on-site
travel. Are we
coaching
doing
where it says
2?
travel.
2 sessions.
Yes, be 2
2
sessions.
sessions.
Yep.
Okay, so would that, I'm sorry.
Oh, and then it says coaching webinar. So that's like a follow-up.
Yeah, and so
Fine.
they've been very supportive. I met with him. I started off today, kind of really going through the numbers and making sure. And I thought, I need to meet with him one more time. And so I kind of sent him an impromptu email. He was very supportive and said, what do you need? I made an impromptu meeting. They've met with us series of 8 or 9 times already. And so that would include those types of things like, you know, a group of teachers are kind of having this issue. We would be able to jump on and get some on-site webinar coaching from one of the specialists they have.
And
Have you known any other districts using?
So they're
Okay.
relatively new. What they're doing right now is they're really with the IUs. And so the IUs they're kind of going through with the IUs and making agreements with the IUs, but they're definitely, we were at Hershey for the PDE conference and they were presenting there. So they're definitely well known. And they are talking with the IUs about making some, I think, agreements with other school districts.
At the last director meeting at IU10, it was brought up in conversation, would districts be interested in utilizing Teach Town for a discount? And there were other districts that were interested.
The on-site coaching and stuff like that. So basically that would be utilized during in-service days and stuff like that for the teachers
Could
to get
be.
that stuff.
It could actually be live when teachers are teaching, so they can help to model and show teachers the correct way. Maybe they're having a question about a certain way that they're implementing the curriculum.
Okay,
They can come right when students are in the classroom. And we elected, even though that's a little more expensive, to go with 2 of the webinars, which we can easily do outside of school hours. But we wanted to have that on-site coaching for folks who are vested in the program. They've already implemented it.
yeah. Okay, I'm just thinking is two gonna be enough then? Because I mean, if you're looking at utilizing this, you're looking at utilizing this K through 12
In all buildings.
in all buildings. Is that really gonna be enough? To get,
Is it two people that come and two separate, like,
Yeah, and I think so. I think one of the things, and currently kind of in my role now as department lead, that is my job is, in addition to being a teacher, is to really support the teachers in teaching. And so kind of what I'm hoping that the trainers will help me do. So the current curriculum that I teach for learning support, which would be different because all kids have different needs. So the current learning support curriculum that I teach, and I kind of know the ins out because I do teach it every day. This is not my arena to teach, as far as I don't teach life skills. So I think these trainers will help me also then support them on a day-to-day basis. I feel like they're going to have the startup professional development, which is like the how-to of the program. And then even as far as what I do on a regular basis, they're going to need, I had the training, and then I need the follow-up. But then I think after that, it's just going to be targeting student progress, and then really just kind of supporting them in getting the kids to access the materials and things like that. What do I do with this? When do I implement that? I think it'll just be as needed after that.
okay.
So how is it different than, so if you're looking at some of these basic skills, how is that different than an IAP, some type of plan that you're already doing with a student?
That's a really good question. So that, as a teacher, you've kind of got, and again, in a life skills or autistic support classroom, you have a multitude of goals. Okay, so the students that receive those services need access to the core curriculum standards. That's part one, and that's kind of what this really would provide for them. Some students in learning support go to their general ed classroom, but again, kind of when there's that gap, you really need to adapt it. So rather than the teacher trying to adapt it, this is done in a sequential kind of way, so that we know that all those standards are getting met. That's kind of step one. What's also included, and we didn't mention in this, so then you have the other layer of goal where you have to work on that student's individual needs. And those are where those IEP goals come in. And so in this program, not only can you adapt the core content, but you can also work on the student's instructional level through the IEP goals. You can set the IEP goal in the program and then pull activities that meet that IEP goal with it. So a paraprofessional could work with the student. The teachers could assign some of those things. And while the teacher's delivering the core adapted content, the paraprofessionals could be working on those IEP goals, or vice versa. So it does also include the ability to address the IEP goals in the program, which is again something we have not seen in any other program we've looked at. Usually what we've had and what we have currently is the program that'll adapt the core content, and then the teachers bringing in the IEP goals from different sources, and they're having to pull their own resources basically to kind of meet those students' needs. Not that they couldn't do that still, but this is something that would be very, again, kind of streamlined, where you can have all of your materials kind of accessible for the teacher to grab from.
So they're doing all these I'm looking at the slide about transition to adulthood, middle and
Yeah.
high school, secondary, post-secondary. So they're essentially on a computer practicing how to buy a movie ticket, or practicing how to cross a street, how a character is
Mhm.
crossing the street or
Yep.
something like that.
And a lot of that is what they call social stories, and that's part of good instruction in special ed. So social stories are something that we'll use often to kind of breach a topic to a student that we feel that they need access to. So getting along with a peer, here's how you behave in a movie theater, and so we'll use it to start off the topic with, here's a story about two people going to the movie theater and how that kind of goes. And so those can be utilized again for very basic things like how to handle yourself at recess, to again, adult topics when that's a need to address also. Here's how you, cross the street. Not that that would be the only practice, but that's kind of what they would be using it for, those social stories and kind of that direct instruction on how to do something that way.
How often for children that are at the higher level, like buying a movie ticket or how to behave in public
Yeah.
or something along that, how often is there real life that you take a student to a movie?
We're
or
trying to
a
get back
shopping
to that.
center?
The pandemic kind of put a hold on
Mhm.
all of that for us. So we are working on trying to get back with that with our transition coordinator. She'll take students to Wise's, to the grocery store out in the community, and then come back and do cooking lessons and talk about budgeting and couponing.
Yeah.
And
We used to, so again, COVID kind of took that. I used to work in life skills prior to that, and we would actually practice kind of in the oval here. My assistant would drive the van around. We would practice on a 3-point scale, crossing the street, so the van will pull up, is there a car? Yes or no? Should you cross? So we did a mix of things. It starts with a social story and crossing the street, and then you weave in that practice. Both are essential for the development of those skills.
Are there services in the community that any of those things? In other words, that a student can be referred though to a community agency and the community agency performs those?
when they're getting
kinds of-
ready to transition out towards graduation, the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation can support them with some of those things.
I think-
Typically not when they're registered and still with us
In
for
school.
school. And we have many of our students until they age out of the age of 21. So we want to make sure we're doing a variety of things, that things don't look the same for an 18-year-old as opposed to a 21-year-old who stays with us for those extra years.
21-year-old.
Yeah, in special ed, you can stay till you're 21. You have the option.
Oh.
Yep.
So not after, even though 12th grade, we still,
12 plus plus.
Yeah.
okay.
Rick, may I ask a question?
Please
Oh,
do.
thank you. I'm so sorry I'm late. I don't know why it said 6:30. It's my fault. Okay, my fault. Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
Hi.
I read the presentation. And I'm sorry if this has already been talked about. Now, this is a third-party agency outside of the district that the district would contract with. Is that correct?
It's like a vendor, yeah, like a curricular vendor. Yep.
Okay. And this is something that the district has been contracting with throughout years, or is this a new?
This is a new, so we have a program that's similar currently. This
That's right.
is a program that we feel is more comprehensive based on our teacher feedback and just kind of what we're seeing as far as skills that are lacking in the students.
Okay, thank you.
So it's new, yep.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of different questions here. I wish Megan was here.
She's on.
I think
She's
on.
oh,
Oh,
she's
she is?
online, yep.
Oh, I don't see her.
She's
I'm here, Elizabeth.
Oh, hi, Megan. Okay, thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Obviously, you are much more familiar with this than I will ever be. May we hear your feedback or how you see it blending or challenges or anything that you have, Megan, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Dr. Barnhart and Jamie have done a great job of identifying a need for an additional resource. They've spent several years, trying different things that the state has provided and found that what the state was providing wasn't adequate. And so they've vetted out some different resources, and this is the one that best suits the needs of our students at this current time. So I think in terms of alignment, Elizabeth, I don't see any issues with this because it is as a population of our life skill students and our autistic support. I don't see this conflicting or anything like that with other resources that we have. I think it perfectly aligns with what we have and what we need.
Oh, super terrific, Megan. Thank you so much. There was a couple things I just wondered. I always like to ask this question at the very end. It's separate, but I didn't notice anything about learning how to vote. And some of the students are, probably at a level that may never be part of their life, but there's probably students there that it might be part of their life. So is that something that's part of your curriculum or, like they learn how to vote, they have a representative come, look at ballots, understand the process? Is
Not
that
sh-
something you,
I'm not sure if Mrs. Orndorff addresses that or not, but prior to the IEP document changing, there used to be voter registration that you had to address with students. And for some reason, they've taken that out. So it's no longer in an IEP. But we can definitely look at addressing those areas when we talk about some of those transitional skills.
thank you very much. And Megan, I'll ask that question later, so please, I don't want to waste their time. For the.
No,
field
I
trip-
think that's, sorry, Elizabeth, I was going to say, I think that's good. And I think it's, good to remember too, that no curricular resource is ever going to be complete and address every need that we have. What we're looking for with curricular resources is that can it meet 90% of our needs? And then we only have to supplement a little bit. So I think it's one of those topics that, if the IEP team decides that that's an important skill that student has, we can certainly supplement those resources to make sure that that's, provided to them.
Thank you, Megan. And I really liked how Chair Rick brought up I'll call them field trips or field experiences or outside of the campus experiences. Do you feel that, yes, COVID was a transitional, we're doing the reset button. Do you think it's lack of transportation, additional funding needed? I mean, what is it that we can get these kids out and about? What is it you need?
We typically budget in our special ed budget every year for money for them to be able to go out, and we utilize the school vans, so that's not really an
Great.
issue.
That's wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much.
A question for any of you. It seems expensive to me, but I know materials are expensive. Is this in line of a typical?
I think it's we said $330 per student
Okay.
was the cost.
And how many students in total?
I think is it 57?
Uh,
57.
57.
Yep.
Okay.
Actually, Chair Rick, I did have one more question. I was going to hold off, but. Oh, thank you. Last one is, Chair Rick works at the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and he knows a lot more about it than I do, but my husband also works there. And he has had autistic students in his regular classes. It's a new thing that some colleges and universities are doing. The students are actually in the classroom. So my question is, through your program, depending on, your child's abilities, will there ever be a discussion, possibly a transition of whether it's college, university, tech school? I mean, the students are auditing and they're taking real classes.
I know the program. So my friend, Dr. Erica Moore, heads the program. And so I know of what you're talking about. And it is like a selection. So the parents, it's initiated by parents and they can reach out to her. I know she's selected several students, and I think she's worked with Haley on getting a couple students that would be candidates for that type of experience and field experience. They take real classes and they work firsthand with Dr. Moore to really take classes that are of their interest and that would be beneficial for them as far as what they're planning on doing in their life. So I know that I definitely know that Dr. Moore and our transition coordinator communicate about students that would be candidates for that program, and we have parents that are interested in that transition from school to a type of college kind of before adulthood, I guess, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, that's wonderful. It's on the
Yep.
radar. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Do we need to officially approve this tonight?
No,
Recommend.
we recommend that it goes to the full board
Okay.
for a vote.
Any further questions, anyone?
Nope.
Dr. Schultz, I just wanted to say about your price question. I think that on paper, what you're saying makes sense in terms of the price, but something I just wanted to point out is that sometimes when we piecemeal several resources, they might look cheaper on paper, but because we're paying for 3 or 4 different, products to support the same end goal, those smaller costs adds up to be very similar to the one that you're seeing in front of you. So I think something to keep in mind is that, right now what we have is kind of a combination of several products, and this would be, streamlining that to one. So I think that at the end of the day, that's fiscally responsible, and also provides more consistency to teachers.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
I understand.
Like another tool in the toolbox, sort of.
Is the committee recommending it to go to
Yeah.
the board?
Yes. Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
you're welcome. And thank you for your presentation.
Polly, you didn't hear from Polly.
Polly, do you have any comments about it or any
Did she recommend it?
issues from? the
I'm
peanut
good with
gallery?
everything.
Say that again?
She's fine.
I don't have any comments. Everything sounds good.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, number 2 is handbooks.
There's no major changes coming up in the handbooks. Dr. Martins wondered if, since we're not meeting in June or July, since it's just minor changes, if it's okay if we just get them to you through email before they go to the board.
I'm fine with that. What areas we're going to be focused on for minor changes? What they
I
have to
believe she said it
discipline?
was student behavior, and the principals asked for some more
Thank you.
clarification. It used to be in the handbook. Am I right, Mr. Peters?
I can add that. So, this past school year, I'm sorry, I forget about that, Elizabeth. So this past school year, what we had done is try to make the handbook a little bit more compact. It exceeds 80 pages. And so we know that can be cumbersome for families. But one of the things the administrative team had talked about was the previous handbook the year prior really spelled out consequences and discipline. We've had a lot of conversations throughout the year. And from our end of it, we really felt it helps to be consistent across buildings. When we have those levels to be able to say, okay, level 1 offenses, level 2, and it kind of gives us more guidance. I think it also, as we often talk about, transparency for parents. And so that information is out there for parents. So they also get to reference and see when we're recognizing certain aspects of the handbook, they can see how we're making those decisions. So from an administrator standpoint, I just feel like it's an additional piece of information that families should have access to. So that really was the conversation about putting some of that information back in the handbook.
Excellent. Is there a part of the handbook that, and I probably, this isn't the best language, but almost like bullet format of, these are the main points, because people tend to be focused on dress policy and, attendance and those kinds.
And so what it does is it does have a table of contents that identifies which section of the handbook those things can be identified. And then the way it's currently designed is that it identifies kind of in a table format that this is the situation it falls into a level 1, gives examples of it. And then for my school, it's mid-level, it breaks it down to 5th and 6th grade and 7th and 8th grade, because we do handle consequences a little differently between those levels. There's a secondary handbook and then also an elementary handbook. And so we really try to be conscientious about all those aspects. I think that's part of our process too, and going back to update that table of contents so that it is easier to navigate for everybody. And that was one of the reasons I think that the changes were made, because we recognize that they can be cumbersome, but we really felt like that's a particular section that we wanted to go back and address.
And I haven't seen the book, and I probably need to do that, but is there a portion that clearly spells out to families and students when outside police are involved, or when things escalate and how they can escalate and
And
how
so
you can
I think it does
mediate.
much more clearly than we currently have in the handbook. I think that occurs. It outlines different aspects that we as administrators should look at and consider in making those decisions, one of which is involving law enforcement in those decisions. And so I think also it identifies mental health needs, emotional needs. We offer our SAP services. We offer different criteria to be able to support students, not just the consequence piece of it, but also looking to support the student more as a whole.
Okay. And there's a part in there, I assume, on bullying prevention.
Yes,
and,
there's a
all
specific section that
harassment
breaks,
and all.
and that's how it's listed. Bullying and harassment is that particular section. It's one of the latter sections. And again, we can talk about how we organize that handbook a little bit differently. Breaks down for technology, it breaks down for code of conduct violations. And then there is a section on dress code. So those things are in there. And I think trying to be as clear as possible with that and providing that information. I think it becomes easier for all community members, families, everybody to be able to come back and really see how that progressive discipline that we try to utilize is available.
And I'm going to have, because a few things are just jumping in my mind, like freedom of expression and freedom of what you talk about to a teacher about, or
Right.
guidance counselor, those kinds of things.
Yeah,
I assume are.
There
spelled
are
out as
definitely
well.
aspects of that. And I think as we go back and review, if there are other areas, sometimes there are new resources available to us, or based upon the current happenings, we go back and try to update any section of the handbook that we feel like needs more clarity. Or again, there are new things that an example is electronic cigarettes. So the vapes, things like that. Over recent years, we've really made changes to those sections to be able to better address them from the school setting.
Good.
Mr. Schultz, I'm going to email you I have the elementary one
Thank
right
you.
now, and I'll send you the rest. then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? Go ahead.
Chair,
Ms.
Rick, thank you. So this will solidify the consistency between all the buildings.
Yeah, I think from my perspective as an administrator, it's something in light of recent incidents, I would say it's something that we had already identified. I know I advocated for it. Different administrators felt differently about it. And so I think as a consensus, our conversations really came back from, as an administrative team, trying to be as consistent and transparent of how we're handling situations was the goal. And
Great.
so I think those are the things that we really aspire to do with those handbooks. And so we talked with Dr. Martin about our plans. We always review the plans with Christina Manning, Director of Pupil Services. She actually sent out emails today about setting up dates in the summertime to start this process.
That is really wonderful news. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Because that's a comment I've heard from
Yep.
parents. They,
Yep.
regardless of what building you're in, they want the same for that
Yep.
child over there. Because sometimes in their heads, at least, they perceive that, children in one building are getting a different treatment than the children over here. And they think it's either because of where they live,
Yep,
or they're perceived as not as important in the county as
yep,
people from another neighborhood or
Totally
something
get
like.
where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And again,
then-
I think that's on our end from an administrative. It shouldn't matter if you go to Liberty Curtin or you go to Rob, that there should be some consistency in how
Mhm.
we're handling those situations.
And that's what I hear,
Yeah.
mostly from the Rob families. They feel like sometimes they're singled out. Or I've occasionally have heard this Renova, that they sometimes feel like they're looked down upon because they're Renova.
Yeah, and I think we've had a lot of changes administratively, and I think, again, with new administrators coming in, it just helps us to again, be consistent in our decisions.
Mhm.
this is wonderful news. It's amazing what's happened in the last 3-4 months. Part of the puzzle, thank you.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks.
So are you okay then with just reviewing it through
Yes,
email?
I think that's perfect. And Polly, is that fine with you reviewing it through the mail?
Yep, that's fine.
Thank you. CTC, comprehensive plan.
Okay, I'm going to review the comprehensive plan for the CTC. As we did, Megan did the one for the school district. There's also one on the CTC side. And we have some slides here. The first one talks about our, it gives you pointers, and there's specific parts of a plan in a CTC that the state looks at and the federal government looks at. One is your outcomes. So we're looking as a measurable goal to increase the completion rate. To be considered a completer in the state of Pennsylvania, the student must complete 100% of the task list. They must do 1,320 hours, because that's 9th through 12th grade, to be a full completer. They must take the end of program assessment, NIMS, NOCTI, or an industry cert, and they must attain a high school diploma. That is considered a completer in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, how that works into post-secondary transition, military and work is if they complete all those things, obviously we know from all the articulation agreements we've seen go through the board that they become eligible for all those credits, and they become eligible to go on further. And that's how they become eligible, as being a completer. 5 years ago, the completion rate at Keystone Central wasn't good. You were only serving 11th and 12th grade basically, and your completion rate was below 30%. But it mainly just because of how the scheduling went, and we've made major changes in that over 5 years.
And what is the rate now?
Oh, you're almost hitting 90%
Mhm.
with this year's class. And I attribute that to just, you did major changes. You don't go in and out of a program. You go in a program, you stay in a program. We do a lot of back work. I've done a lot of work with Dave in the middle school to try to get them up here earlier, to do some integration, to get them familiar with the programs before they get here, things like that. And then the other thing is, once they get in a program and they get familiar with the teacher and they can form a bond with the teacher, you don't see kids moving a lot. Basically, when you see a kid move, it's because maybe they didn't want to do certain things that were in the program that industry dictates that I do, and they just didn't want to proceed, and you'll see them drop.
And I would assume too, it's helped because you have so many new options
Oh, there's
that students plug into.
Yeah.
That really.
Well, and I think that'll only help keep kids more attracted to it, especially like your Health Ox. There is now a world there that never existed before, between the Geisinger apprenticeships, between the co-ops. Now we're putting in patient care technician. I just ordered all the curriculum. You're going to see so many things in that area with advanced nursing that those students can leave here. They can go to college. They can go into direct to nursing school. They go 4-year college, 2-year college, direct to nursing school. They can get the Geisinger scholarship for $40,000. They can work for Geisinger, whether for 3 years. So everything is now intermeshed and hooked up. Once you get the patient care technician, we get that teacher trained this summer, and we get that put in. When they come out with that, that's a guaranteed job stepping out the door. And we already have the CNA through the long-term care, what was the old UPNC facility. We've hooked that up already. We actually have kids that already took the CNA, so they're going to work this summer. Now, some of them are going to flip over and do the Geisinger co-op also to try to get into nursing school through the Geisinger co-op. But yeah, there's a ton of credits out there right now. And this summer, my goal is to work on a page where I join all the articulated credits and dual enrollment credits to the specific areas that they're associated with, and then do a book for parents that they can go into the website and look at that. That's all offered. There's multiple of credits now, and I'll have more as soon as Homeland Security goes in. I have 3 colleges waiting for me to sign the document, and that'll just proceed.
That's perfect. And that's something the public.
I think I need to push that more, honestly.
Yes.
I'm thinking maybe next year I need to do a CTE evening where we just ask people to come in if they want to be informed about what's available, because I think it just gets lost sometimes. And maybe I just need to do that, because I know we have we've really updated the website with the video, the integration of the different areas, but I don't think they still understand that my son or daughter can go through a CTE program, get advanced credits, up to 21 credits in some of these programs, and go to a 4-year college. If they still want to do that, they can go to work. You know, I've sat at a table and told kids, parents, don't do that right away. Employers are more than willing to pay for that. Don't take it out of your pocket. Leave them pay for you to go to a 4-year college, because they're going to do it. They're going to pay for it. So just put on the brakes a little bit and let's see what works here.
You might consider doing some field programs, like a program up in Renovo one night.
Yeah, we could do
so
that easily.
Parents don't who
Mhm.
have a struggle getting down
Yep.
here.
That would be great.
Yep.
That's exciting.
So that's one of the outcomes. The next one is to increase the rigorous courses of study. We've been trying to do this, and we're proceeding by changing courses with Megan. We've changed some titles. We've done some things Next year, Megan and I are working on basically algebra, joining our academic staff with our CTE staff to increase scores in that area. But the rigorous courses of study comes in with the task grid and how you match your academics with your program of study. So basically, if a student in nursing, we know they need chemistry. We know they need advanced science. So we need to plan a 4-year program out for them when they sit with a counselor or sit with me or sit with my co-op director, because we do a lot of that. They come in and talk. So we have a sheet made that actually tracks every course in the high school. At the end of that sheet, it asks you, do you want to go to a 2-year college, a 4-year college, right into the workforce? Do you want to work in this trade, that trade? And it depends on where they want to be. And we go by an interest survey, and then we will chart out their 4 years and what courses they should take. So we know where they should be and what they should take. That's all printed. Every guidance counselor has one. They can look at that and actually sit with a student and track it. My teachers then sit at the end of the year and track every student through that to try to get them in the right path. Because there's different paths for every program. And there's multiple paths. So that's another goal there. I want to sit and make sure kids are taking the right things to match them. The other thing is industry-based learning, concentrator improvement. Now, concentrator in the state of Pennsylvania is a student that takes 2 courses of CTE. They didn't take 1,320 hours, but they took 720. They still need to take the end of program assessment, even though they didn't have all the tasks. And then they're eligible for some things, but like the one thing is they complete 2 programs, end of year assessment, and they have a high school diploma. They're considered a concentrator. So my goal is if a kid only enters in 11th grade, I still need to finish him out in 12th grade, get the assessment and make him a concentrator, because that also counts on your score sheet. It is harder on the NOCTI test, I'll tell you that. And this year I have seen that because we had a pile of kids take the test, and I've been looking at our rate. Our rate is down about 4%, 5%. But what I've tracked really weird is the kids that are concentrators are still hitting the marks, but they're not as high as the kids that have been in for 4 years. So it pulls your rate down a little bit. So I need to really get kids not to start as not to be a concentrator, but be a completer. I need them to start as early as I can and get them through the 4, but I'll never turn a student away that wants to come in 10th grade, 11th grade, even if they want to come in 12th grade. They don't have to take the assessment then, but why would you turn them away? That might have been something they found late in their high school career.
Yeah, they're only 16, 17 years old. Yeah.
And all of this is tied to attendance and industry certifications. Your strengths, I see of the CTE, are your dual enrollment articulated credits, your career link partnerships, your Penn College dual enrollment program. And we have the federal monies called Perkins, and every 2 years I have to do a comprehensive local needs assessment. That is really, it tears the CTE apart and looks at every piece from outside people. And we do that every 2 years. We do it as a school here, but we also do it as a region because we're in a region for workforce development, the center region. So I work with 5 other schools to look at that. And then we tear ourselves apart, but we tear the whole region apart to look at what's offered. Just because this little cluster right here may not have a specific trade, if you go 50 miles this way in our region, it might be big. So we need to address so kids can move around. Challenges, I think program concentrator enrollment's always a challenge to keep, even if you get kids late, to keep them there. Improve completion rate is always, you want to keep it up. Educating IEP case managers to aid in career decisions and offerings at the Career and Tech Center. Kids should be doing an interest inventory early in their career, and that should guide their career. And I think that needs some strengthening.
When do they start now, if you don't mind me asking?
And to do career inventories, Dave can start in middle school with Smart Futures. They start early. Yeah, and then if I get a student that's doesn't really know, they're in the 9th grade and they come to me and they say, I'm still confused. I don't know what I want. I take them outside the Smart Futures and I do 2 other ones, Career Cruiser and another interest inventory with them to see what comes up. Most of the time, they're pretty familiar. So then I explain it to them, what that really means, human services and, emergency services or automotive. You know, that one's pretty easy for kids to understand, but there's some things on there that are tough to understand. And I think we need to build leadership capacity, empower staff in the development, and successful implementation of initiatives that better serve students, staff in the school, such as I just went through a whole series of what they call non-traditional improvement plans. I've done these over my 30-year career, but again, I saw some new things, and we've gotten some new things out there. If you look at our video, it's specifically tailored to non-trad. If you look at the new cards that we just made, they're specifically for parents, and on there, it's a lot of non-traditional subliminal type stuff that they see a young lady or somebody else in auto. They see them in construction, you know, things like that. So you see it, you don't really think of it, but it's there in front of you. Now, the next thing is we got posters made that'll hang in the halls downstairs that are all about what's offered at Keystone Central and what non-traditional careers and what it means.
I'm sorry, I mean, are the posters going to be just in CTC or are they in the main?
I'd like to put one in also in like the guidance wing and stuff like that.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep, they're being printed now. That was a federal grant I applied for and got to do some non-traditional work.
That's
So
wonderful.
how can that build leadership and empower staff? So if we think of teachers and staff who are not in CTC, but can refer. Do you mean like we need more funding to train those staff?
No, because
teachers, or-
I'll be honest with you, I can get the funding.
Mhm.
I just need to get everybody together in one room to realize that if Johnny tells me he likes this program over here really assesses that. And I need to get him to there.
What's stopping you from doing that?
It's
now?
just getting people together. But Megan and I have been working. This year we worked on literature. We worked on Collins writing with our literature teachers. Next year, she's going to go deeper into that. And next year, her and I are going to work on the math side of it, bringing our DPLs together with our CTE teachers. So if they're teaching trigonometry downstairs in a concept, the teacher on this side and the teacher on this side can see how that works together. And even my CTE teacher can say to the students, you know, when you're upstairs and you're taking trigonometry, this is basically what it is. Here's the function of it in this program. You can do it here. You can do it there. We need to give them the strength to say, it's the same thing. It's the same concept. It's just written different. And if
And
we
I
get
think
people
Kurt-
together, yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that helps students find relevance in what they're doing outside of CTC because it connects directly to what's being done, you know, in our normal academic courses, but they don't always see the relevance in that.
Yep.
And so I think making those connections helps, and that helps the behaviors, that helps academic
Yep.
progress and achievement if they see why it matters and how it relates to the trade that they're looking to do outside of our system.
So if you have a student who you're deeming as more academic, like
Mhm.
you're thinking, oh, this is a college-bound student, probably. How can you introduce them to CTC that they and their parent or parents or guardian is not even on that page? Is there like an orientation?
Well, we
to
do-
CTC? Is there a class they take? What do they do?
That's why Dave and I kind of work together to do the 8th grade tours. And then that, if you notice, when that is done, within a week or two, Megan has the curriculum showcase. It's done on purpose.
Okay.
So then when they sit in the auditorium, we give a presentation. The principal gives a presentation, I'm interjected in the middle, and then guidance jumps in. But during that, Rick, I give a whole thing on articulated credits and dual enrollment to try to attract those people sitting out there that their kids want to go to a 4-year college.
Is
A
it?
lot of times that's the hook.
At that kind of presentation, then, do they also hear from a current students who are at CTC?
So when we do the tour stuff and we do that night, and so the night of curriculum showcase, I embed industry people within each program. And I try to do non-trad industry people. So I'll ask a company, a non-traditional employee if they can send one. And then we also, a lot of times we'll have our skills students in the hallways to talk to parents and in the classes. So they can talk to those different students.
I'm gonna have to make sure to get to one of these, because I'd like.
And another thing that Kurt does really well is he often has videos that highlight each program, and there's often students in those videos And I think that's a big PR piece as well of it.
A lot of the kids going into CTC, it's kids know kids, let's put it that way. And parents know parents and they know this is a good program. My student really like this. If you want to go in that, I'll agree with that. You know, but there's still those people out there that college, like CTC is not an option. We have one right now. A student came to us about doing a program next year and we got an email from a parent and said, we're not allowed to talk to them. It's fine, whatever, that's good. That's your choice, no?
It is.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
the student will make that choice at some point,
Mhm.
you know? It's just the way things are.
Polly had to fail.
Hmm?
Polly, she had to fail.
Oh, okay.
So I throw something on here for adult education. Do you have any questions on the comp plan?
Oh, looks
it's
good.
Freaking
Looks
awesome.
good.
So we're gonna put this presentation on the June work session. And then it has to have public view for 28 days and it'll go on the board agenda in August for approval.
Very good.
I just wanted to bring you up to date then next on adult ed real quick. Tomorrow I have a meeting with Commonwealth University with Miss Hardy. We're trying to form a partnership with their workforce side. We have the partnership, we have the courses developed. They're gonna help us market the courses to some of our business and industry people because Commonwealth University holds training money. So training money means a lot to a company when they can pay for 3 years of training and 2 years is already prepaid. So they sign up through Commonwealth. So Commonwealth is joining with us or we're joining with Commonwealth and we're going to put out some machining courses and some other courses and hopefully we get enrollment that we can do it like a master cam, a milling course. There's some other things out there that tomorrow will be finalized and then Commonwealth will take it and market it for us. And we've already sat at the table with multiple businesses with Angelica to try to get them in on this money that comes out through workforce development. And she has a pot of money she can give to industry people for training. So we're hoping that all.
What are some of the programs? I know you just said. a
The
couple.
machining, we can get into the drafting, things like that.
Okay.
They're open to anything right now. They want to build their workforce side.
Okay.
But we want to start already. The reason we want to start with the machining, there's a reason, the apprenticeship.
Right.
Because we can get people in these courses, track hours for apprenticeship and then get them back and finish that apprenticeship. And they're interested in apprenticeships right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm working with Commonwealth right now on an apprenticeship for the education zip code that we're looking at. I'm working with them. They just asked me to write a letter of support. They're going after a big federal grant and I want to be in on it.
Cool.
So I've been working with a lot of them.
The other question I wanted to ask you is, I notice, like most school districts, you offer some continuing ed classes that I assume are teachers who, like in art or, I don't know, whatever.
That's at the end here. Yeah.
It seems like there aren't many of them that offered. And
So maybe we're on different, maybe you're talking about something different. Let's look at I have evening courses here last. Let me do first quality and I'll
Okay.
get that. So first quality today, I've finalized training agreements with first quality to start mid-June. One will be they want to send 4 people through our machining course on milling and turning. Don't ask, I'm not a machinist,
you.
so, but Mr. Packer wrote the curriculum that will start mid-June. She's going to give me a date. It'll be Tuesdays for 8 weeks. They'll pay us for our facilities. They'll pay our instructor and we'll make room fees.
And then who are the clients?
That one's first quality. They come out of
Their own
it's
employees
their
or their
maintenance
own-
people we're going to be training.
Great.
And then the second one on that is OSHA 30. They need OSHA 30 training for their upper echelon management. So we're going to supply that training to 10 individuals in their upper echelon. Then when them 10 are done, we're going to start another class with another 10. So that one's a computer-based program, but we'll teach the PowerPoint stuff and then we monitor the final exams. So that's the next step. And we're hoping people will jump in on that and build off of that. And then evening courses. So this is what we're talking about. We just started a whole array of new evening courses. There was a barn quilting, there was an herbal course, there was a crazy cards course. They're almost like, I call them avocational because they're not a vocational trade type course because the machining and all that's running in a different sector. We did advertise them, but they didn't fill with general public, but they'll fill with industry. So they're the kind of courses in the evenings that we're running right now. There's a whole new set going to come out for the fall again. So she ran, I think, 10 or 12 courses through, and they're all different times. And I will be honest with you, I could not repeat the list.
I remember them.
My brain
That-
just
that-
doesn't go there
Yeah,
anymore.
that's what I'm thinking about, just enrichment for our
Yep.
community.
Yep, that's
Mhm.
what the type of stuff we're offering right now. Yep. Any questions on adult ed?
Nope.
Summer rec. I just wanted you to be aware that my department's also in charge of summer recreation. I have 10 parks from Woolwich to Renova. We service anywhere from 340 to 400 kids.
It's a very popular program, I know, at Castania Park.
It
The
runs
kids love it.
June 9th through August 11th, 9:30 to noon, Monday through Friday. So that's in the process right now being finished. You'll see names come on the board again for
Mhm.
hire for people in those parks. I think we hired 20 some it took to fill them. But that'll start coming June 9th. You'll see the flyers out there and things like that. I work with Becky Conklin is my supervisor for that. So sometimes you'll see her in my office. So between the meetings with that and apprenticeship and the evening courses, she also helps run the evening courses. Mr. Packer helps with the apprenticeship side of it because the paperwork is just extreme. So
Okay. Cool.
that's about what's on my plate right now.
All right.
That's a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Girls wrestling.
All right. Well, I'm excited to share that as of tomorrow at 2 p.m., the final voting is being conducted to officially approve girls wrestling as a PIAA sport. So I could
Very
be
cool.
wrong, but I believe we were like the 4th team in Pennsylvania to
Mhm.
start, and now there's over 100.
You're kidding me.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes, so they're having a little celebration down in Lancaster. I'm not gonna be able to attend, but they're having the voting there. We wanted to bring some information to everybody. When this was originally board approved, Coach Wallizer, Biff Wallizer, he agreed to coach the girls wrestling program and everything as a part of his boys stipend and
Right.
everything like
Right.
that. Just to gauge interest, get kids, involved and everything like that. So,
Wasn't his daughter one of the wrestlers?
his daughter plays golf and volleyball.
Oh, okay. All right.
But this being now, when that all went, board approved,
Right.
it was under the expectation that when it did become a PIAA sanctioned sport, that they would need to hire another coach.
Right.
So we've looked, we've done everything in the budget and everything like that to get another coach. So if and when this is board, approved, we'll need to hire another coach, and we budgeted to do that. So we don't have any problem, no issues there. There was a question in terms of, I talked to Dr. Martin about this, whether we need to get it board approved again at Keystone Central School District level. So I have a meeting on the 18th at 4:00 with all coaches, other ADs and athletic administration staff and Mark Byers from the PIAA to ask those questions to see if there's anything else that Keystone Central School District will need to do.
For PIA to make sure that we're all- Okay,
Correct.
got it.
Correct.
Thank you.
So,
Good.
so that's all I have for girls wrestling.
Sounds great.
All right.
What's the lowest grade that we have a wrestling? team?
Seventh grade is the lowest that you can start participating in PIAA sports.
Okay.
So typically if there's females that are part of that, they join in with the middle school program with the boys team. But with this, we're looking to actually start at the ninth grade, the high school level, that they'll have their own team, separate schedule, all of that kind of stuff. New additional head coach. I think as far as training and everything like that, there'll be some things that, is able to work out in terms of the wrestling room and everything like that. I don't think there'll be any need for an additional wrestling room or mat or anything like that. They'll just be able to kind of work in practice times and, things to that nature. I believe that Queen of the Mountain was during the King of the Mountain on Sunday was the largest attended female wrestling tournament in the state this past.
Did not know that.
Yes, so it's really, really growing.
I
It's
didn't even see
really
anything
big.
in the paper. Whatever, sorry,
So
that's great. Good
And
job.
in the current athletic conference for Central Mountain, how many of those schools have? Right, so how far do you have to typically travel?
well, yeah, the PHAC, the Pennsylvania Heartland Athletic Association, they don't have a girls division or anything like that yet. But there are a few teams that do have a few, female wrestlers. But most of, and I can share at a later date if you guys want to see like last year's girls schedule. We had, I think it was like six to seven different events that they travel to different tournaments. They do have like a regionals and everything like that where they have a postseason per se, but it's not PIAA sanctioned. With this, it will be. So
Very good.
we did have 5 wrestlers last year at the high school level for girls.
We started with 2, right?
Started with 2.
That's right.
I want to say last year was 3 or 4, and then this year was 5. So it's growing.
Cool.
Mhm.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Chair Rick, may I
That's
ask a
exciting.
question, please?
Well, of course.
Thank you. Well, I know we're losing you. I want to thank you. You've taken the athletics program so far. More has happened in the last couple of years and since I've lived here. And I would love to see your accomplishments on paper. So I would love to see that, like how many people started, in volleyball and then where we are today, or, I mean,
It's something I think we can have Mrs. Work run that. She keeps that data piece anyway. So we can definitely get you that. I will say, just because you mentioned volleyball, they did just start a elementary volleyball program for the first time this year.
yeah,
They were hoping for 36 roundabout number, and I think they had somewhere in the 72 range.
the kids had a lot of fun. I know.
So,
the kids that went.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome thing for
Well,
a
that's what
lot
I'm
of
saying.
lot
You
of kids
you
to
started
come.
so much, you had a vision, and then whenever the next person comes in, of course, their vision may be different, that's fine, but unless we have the foundation of knowing where we are and where we were, I mean, to me, that's priceless information.
I think we can definitely get that for you.
Thank you.
Sunday events.
Yeah, last thing I have is
Yes.
Sunday events.
Mhm.
There was a letter from the Clinton County, one of the ministries, about basically gathering after 1 o'clock on Sundays. Per the PIAA, there's not any games that are scheduled on Sundays or anything like that. There's also the PIAA 7-day rule, which is, you can't practice 7 days in a row consecutively.
Right.
So there's times that coaches give off on a Monday or a Wednesday or what have you. And then, they have some optional things on Sundays. We do have a couple optional things that are waiting for approval on Sundays, like, football and such. But we're just looking for some guidance there in terms of the letter did state that there was some kids, missing things on Sundays. After doing a little investigation, we were finding out that it was like the spring musical rehearsals and everything were happening like almost all day on Sundays. So I guess we're just kind of looking for as a discussion piece and see what the board feels. Is this something that we want to entertain? Is keeping everything kind of quiet after 1 o'clock on Sundays? We do have some things that are, like I said, in place now, but they're fully optional for the most part. And kids aren't, penalized or anything like that when, if they aren't able to attend on a Sunday practice because it's not mandatory.
Is it
I don't
ever
see it.
implied, though, if you do not show up on that Sunday, maybe you're not going to be used?
I would hope not.
I mean, we all know that sometimes can happen. That's
Yeah.
what I'm wondering,
Yeah.
that some of the students may feel that, and they're not expressing that to their family as to why they.
Yeah. I haven't expressed it to me. I haven't heard anything
I'm
negatively
just,
about, yeah.
might be reading into.
Well, and then
I-
there's also, I'm sorry to interrupt. There's also some things in here. There are outside community groups that also rent our facilities, like hunter safety courses and, you know, outside groups that come in. And, some of them are scheduled for Sundays.
What other day do they have? I mean, seriously, what other day do they have?
True. I mean,
And it's not a district sanctioned thing.
correct. So it wouldn't be.
They are renting the facility.
Mhm,
So that has nothing to do with us.
mhm.
Okay, I actually like the idea of holding off things until after 1 o'clock. Okay, and then after that, you know, because that gives the students and the parents and all that stuff time to go to church, do their thing, have a nice little lunch, and then, okay, let's get rid of the kid for a little bit. So, you know, just, you know, and if it's not mandatory, that's all the better. So.
Anybody else?
Any other comments about it?
Nope.
I mean, I think it's nice to be cooperative and collaborative, but on the other hand, I think those are personal decisions. If a family or a student is making those decisions, I would have always made the decision to go to the school events. I mean, my family never said, you've got to go to church. I think that would be an awful thing to do to a child.
Yeah.
If the child wants to do athletics or whatever, you can be spiritual in so many different ways. And if it brings meaning to your life to be on a field or be whatever, then that, in my view, we've got to stop thinking you got to be sitting in a pew to be spiritual, or in a temple or in a mosque or on a rock celebrating paganism.
Okay, well. all
What?
right.
Okay, hold
I'm just trying to be very broad
Yes,
in our.
we don't pick and.
we don't
yes.
have to be, go that, yeah, anyway.
So,
Roger's about to have a kitten.
Oh, no, I'm about to have something else.
Chair,
Anyway.
He's hungry.
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
getting to be
Yeah.
about that time.
those look like
It is
poker
dinner
chips.
time.
Anyways,
So I guess the final question is here, does the committee wish to discuss this with the full board? Do we feel that that's something?
Honestly, as long as we're keeping it, you know, I mean, the ministerium was asking, you know, to hold it off until after 1 o'clock. We're already doing that, correct?
Yes.
So there's nothing really to discuss. We don't need to
So
bring it up.
Is the who responds to the or to the ministerium? Is it the athletic director? Is it superintendent?
It
Is
was a letter directed to the superintendent.
Okay.
We
but-
actually
but,
all got that.
Yeah, a
letter.
lot of us
I mean,
all
we did,
had an
but
opportunity to read it.
I think it should, we all don't need to respond.
Oh,
to it, I
gosh,
think,
no.
but,
Right.
No.
I do think some type of response has to go saying, we're very supportive, collaborative, cooperative,
Mhm.
whatever, but
Well, Jackie doesn't do anything. Let's just let her do it.
hmm?
Okay,
She's
Mr.
gonna
Chair,
kill
may I,
me. You know
Chair,
that, right?
may I?
So you're saying you don't feel it needs to go to the board, just keep doing as we're doing?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, and I do most of the facility scheduling for, you know, with athletics and all that
Mhm.
currently. And it's a very simple, we just block everything
There you
to
go.
1 o'clock and then nobody can schedule it. So,
But I do think we
outside
need to
groups
direct
can.
some type of formal letter response to the
Absolutely.
ministerium. That's very nice and supportive and
Yeah.
friendly. We're working with you, but that's also personal kinds of
Yeah.
decision-making by families.
Mhm.
The only thing I would add is we do have a lot of youth organizations that are not sanctioned by us and as a school district, and a lot of them are holding tournaments, holding events, holding different things for various different things. And so I think in support of what they're asking, that could be a larger scale community discussion at some point, because, if that's a community mindset and something they're looking for, then they would, we don't want to allow it. And then all of a sudden, when you come to the high school level or the middle school level, now we're not going to, permit those same things anymore. So that's just one thought process.
Well, thank you, Dave. And Chair Rick, I will say this, I personally, since we're a public education, these are public buildings, public grounds. I think that since there's no policy or AR that states specifically that the buildings will not be opened until 1 o'clock, I just think that if a group wants to use it earlier in the day, and that group wants to, we're not gonna say no to them.
Well, yeah, like we said, the outside groups, they
As long as it-
potentially
yeah.
could, right? I
As
mean,
long as it is not
a
a
KCSD
dis-
sponsored
yeah,
event.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're actually getting money from those groups.
Mhm.
That's a business decision. That's not, educational stuff.
And we'll stay flexible in the future if the majority of the kids that do this and the parents, the majority of them want to start at 9 in the morning because the heat or whatever. Fine, we'll just be flexible. But right now, it's working for you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
Okay, cool.
Very good.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Oh, may I, Chair Rick?
Sure, go ahead.
Sorry, Roger. I sent out an email. I went to a grant workshop for electric buses, electric charging stations. It's the second round. It appears that the district qualifies. So there's been some feedback when I sent out an email. But my question is, at some point, I know you talked about this, at some point, the CTC might consider doing something with rechargeables, vehicles or solar.
So when that came out a year ago,
Uh-huh.
well, I was in touch with the head of PennDOT and in touch with the head of DEP. And put my name on the list to go to the trainings when it becomes available to school. So I was in on all that grant stuff in the very beginning with Rob and I did
Right.
some things with my teacher downstairs. And at that time, it wasn't for schools at all, like for us to touch. It was for like off of Interstate 80, so many miles
Sure.
and all this kind of stuff. And then I reached out to the department and said, look, when you rewrite the curriculum for automotive, I'd like to be invited and be part of it. And the state head wrote me back and said, I think this person's already doing something with it. And it was in Lancaster. So I called him. He said, no, we talked about it in a meeting, but it hasn't progressed to that point because when we brought it up with everybody else, nobody was ready for it yet. And the funding, so DEP, so we've been right on the ground floor
I
with
remember.
both these
That's
two
why-
people. And
Mhm, I remember.
so I have all their email stuff and their names. So I send them stuff all the time to say, anything out there yet that schools can get into right curriculum, do this? Is there gonna be money available? He told me it'd be at least a 5 to 10 year window until the school money's available for us to dip into to start addressing curricular issues.
Oh, geez Louise.
But there is a pot of money.
Oh, it's a big pot of money.
It's a big pot of money.
Yes, it is.
And he agreed with me, the guy from DP and, the other, they agreed that it should be faster, but they're so far behind on the infrastructure of everything else that they feel that's not their
Okay.
form right now.
Well,
So,
this
yeah,
is
but
sort
we
of,
are, but on the other side, I just looked at green energy alternative trainers for construction trades because it's in that new, it's in his new curriculum,
Mhm.
but it's also in the new curriculum I put down there to home builders.
Mhm.
It's in there. So that trainer is probably gonna be sitting in that room probably come August.
Excellent. Very good. Okay,
And I have one last one.
okay.
I'm sorry,
quickly.
Roger. This is just something that's been on my wish list forever. Maybe in 2 years. We'll see how the 4-H program goes. You know, the 4-H just started to get their foot in the ground here, and we'll see how it goes. But have you ever heard of the farming apprentice program?
That one I don't
Okay,
think I did.
all right. Well, it's on my wish list. Maybe in 2 years I'll bring it up.
Okay.
Because there's money for farmers to start, young people to
Yeah.
become farmers. So we'll see how the 4-H goes, you know?
We have a ton of kids in our ag programs that are 4-H already, and then they cross over to FFA and they show at the fair.
Mhm.
There's a ton of them.
Motion to adjourn?
I already made that motion.
Okay.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Everyone in favor?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're all in favor. We're all in favor.
Good night.
Time to go, Rick.
Thank you so much.
You can keep that.
Oh,
They gave that
okay.
out. Yeah.
Can you stop
they gave that
recording?
out.
I did.
Yep.
Thank you.